Thank you so much, Tuba, for that energetic dance performance. It hence proves that the only dance I can do is during Ganpati and during the Barat at weddings. But yeah, I've got some more steps since this year I've missed both of them. Thank you so much, Tuba, for that warm starting. Yeah, I've started getting comments for AI 23. That was a secret. It was not to be revealed because we have someone bigger than an AI 23 joining us for this Medley session right now. So before I do that, there's a small introduction that I have for her, which I've been nagging her for quite a few days, and she decided to send it to me 10 minutes before. Just a typical student, who wakes up at the last minute for the examinations and gives it us. Just a second. Can someone confirm my screen is visible?
Yeah, it is.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our keynote speaker, anchor, and senior research analyst at CNBC TV 18, Sonal Bhutra.
Okay, I can confirm that music has nothing to do with the fact that she's part of the stock markets and she actively gives stock tips to all of us. Sonal Bhutra is a chartered accountant by profession, but has made strides, apparently, that's what she claims, in the field of broadcast journalism, and can be seen analyzing numbers and stock market tips on CNBC TV 18, and also spotting some trends in different industries. And she says she's not gloating. So, you want to get started on this?
Okay, first of all, I do not give stock tips. Please do not tell people, because I hope after this session I do not get questions for stock tips. That is not what I do. And secondly, I'm glad you used that music, because since the time I watched Scam, I've just been humming that introduction tune since the time that show has come. So these two things that I wanted to answer. And third thing, no, I'm not gloating, Hardik. You were not supposed to say that, but anyway, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me here. And I really liked the dance session, though I was secretly doing it, so that was quite fun.
All right, Sonal. I know you have been married recently, so you have a lot of dance routine at your home and office with your bosses and your husband. So I'm going to exempt you from doing that. It's time to dive into a few quick questions for you. Can you run us through your journey from chartered accountant and journalism? I mean, we CAs are normally known for this bookworms, the tax audits, and not used to showing face. And communication has not been the key for people like us. So tell us your journey from. I know you for quite some time, and tell us your journey to people around here on this.
So, yes, these are two very, very different fields, being a chartered accountant and working as a business journalist. But you can say it's very different, but it's quite similar in a lot of ways as well. As a chartered accountant, what I did was analyze financial statements, make a thesis out of it, and present it to our clients. This is something similar that we do here as well. We basically analyze statements and find out our findings. Then the client here is actually our audience. So that is the kind of similarity. But having said that, of course, it's a different field that I have gotten into. And that is because I was always very mesmerized or excited about this particular field. And being a person who was decent at studies, my parents thought that being a chartered accountant is something that our parents, all of them, want us to do. So they were like, be a chartered accountant, then get into any field that you want to be. So I became a chartered accountant, and I realized that, okay, now that I've done that, it's the best time to move to the next leg, that is getting into financial journalism. And that is what I did. And it so happened that I interned at Ernst & Young, and that is somewhere we both worked basically, Hardik, Ernst & Young. And then I moved to Motilal Oswal. I was an analyst there. And it so happened that in one of the conferences at Motilal Oswal, CNBC's team was there. And in one of the question answer round, I had to ask a question to Mr. Piyush Goyal. I did that. and they noticed me, and that was it just fell into place. They came to me, they said that, okay, we like the way you questioned him, and it'll be great that if you could join us. Right now we don't have a vacancy, but whenever we do, we would like you to be on board. And this is how it happened. Yes, it's different, but it's very, very exciting.
So everyone in the audience over here, 140 odd people, this is your chance if you want to join CNBC. Ask a very good question. We'll open it up for Sonal towards the end of the segment. And that question could probably get you into the nation wants to know syndrome of the world.
I don't think people come to CNBC and say the nation wants to know. It's the investor want to know what the stock is doing, what the market is doing. That is what it works here.
Yes, definitely. You all want to make money right now. So before I jump to the next question, can I ask the Zoom master to enable the first poll that we have over here? I want to ask the people over here, how comfortable are they speaking in front of the camera? All right. So Zoom master, can you please enable the first poll for us? All right. So the question is, do you enjoy speaking in front of the camera? Hell yeah. I even have 11 followers on TikTok. Nope, I anyways talk to myself in front of the camera, in the mirror. And the third one is, well, it depends on what kind of video are we talking about here. I will have a quick few seconds before we take Sonal's inputs on how her journey of talking in front of camera started when there's no audience and it's scripted in front of you. Does it roll for you, Sonal? A script rolls and you just read it out?
So it's not exactly like that. For business journalism, it's quite different. When I started, it was difficult, of course, for me to speak in front of the camera, because you do not really know if whatever you're saying, is the audience liking it, are they hating it? You have no idea, and then camera becomes your friend. So that used to be something that I wasn't very comfortable doing. But having said that, in my school, I was always a public speaker. So that way it helped me a lot to try and understand that okay, camera is your audience. But in way of it being scripted or a prompter being there, we do a lot of live chats there. So a lot of it is impromptu, a lot of them, it is ad-libbing. So it's important to be prepared, yes, but a lot more than that is how you think on your feet. So some of the shows, the bulletins, of course, they are scripted, but in live markets, you can't have bulletins, right? You can't have a script in front of you. So it is different that way. And of course, you learn over time. You practice a lot in front of the camera. Basically, I was told, make camera your friend. Then this particular profession will be very easy for you.
You're talking like a typical Toastmaster, right? You have your scripted, prepared speeches and impromptu table topics. I think
that's
you should probably,
that's what CNBC Deviated has taught me. CNBC Deviated has taught me that.
So it's worked the other way around for you. Dimple, can we have the results of the poll so that we all know what people think over here about?
Yes.
So members in the audience, let me know how comfortable are you actually speaking in front of the on the camera in the chat segment in terms of initially when you get started. Did you hate it or do you still enjoy doing it?
You're asking me? Oh no, right?
No, I'm asking the audience members right now.
Yeah.
So how many retakes do you have for the scripted sessions?
No, actually, it's live TV, so you do not have any retakes, and that is what we have to be very, very careful about, because in this kind of a profession, when it's live, you cannot do retakes, and that is where you have to be very, very careful. And of course, when you do fumble, it will happen because you're human, right? So it does happen. So you have to quickly recover from that. So it's not how many times you fumble, it's how quickly you recover from the mistake that you made. So of course, it's like, tracking financial markets live, making sure that you're speaking well. So it's basically going out there every day and you have to hit a 6 on every ball, but that's not possible, right? So yes, it does happen that you do fumble at times, you do make mistakes, but more important is how you recover from it.
So, tell us one of your worst fumbles you've made, probably on camera, given some statement which within a second you realize that that was a big goof up, and there was someone outside over there behind the camera giving that stare to you. It's like a mentor at a speech, right? There's a contest going on over here for all of us, and you skip the line or you make a joke which people don't enjoy listening to. Like, what did he just say, and why did he just say that? Tell us one of your moments where you have made the biggest goof up.
So thankfully, the biggest goof up in terms of not analyzing something properly hasn't happened. But I did. I was new in the system. I would say like 4 or 5 months old, and there was the breaking news. So now when there's a breaking news, you have to react to it fast, and it has to be correct. Now I did the fast part very well, but on the correct part, what happened was I thought while speaking, my thoughts were ahead of my speaking. That happens, right? You think, what am I going to say next? And that is the biggest mistake that you make while you're speaking. You are on to the next sentence when you're actually speaking the first sentence. So it so happened that I mixed two numbers together, and it just basically changed the equation in some way of the analysis. Thankfully, behind us we have a screen where are the graphics, basically what we're speaking, that shows on air. So I could actually see that, okay, what I'm saying and what is there on air is not matching right now. There is something wrong that has happened. And later on realized that is because I was thinking about the next sentence rather than focusing on what I'm talking right now. That happens often, and especially because there's so much pressure that, okay, you have to record it right now. And I thankfully realized it then itself, and I was like, okay, it's time to correct. So that's what we are supposed to do, and we're taught. You make a mistake, that's okay, but apologize quickly, immediately, and tell them, okay, you made a mistake, and this is how you will correct it. If not this way, if you toss it back to the anchors or anybody else who's senior there, they say, okay, this is what she meant to say. Like, this is the mistake. So that was the only time I think I would have done that blunder, and I thought, okay, oh my God, did I do something wrong? But later on, I could recover from it, is the point, yeah.
So that become a meme or joke within the company at that point in that or something like that? Are you used to that?
Meme or joke?
That goof up, yeah, the goof you made up, the goof up that happened. That someone pointed out later on to you that, Sonal, don't do this next time.
Yes, of course. People come and give you feedback, right? And it's important. Otherwise, I would have continued that because
Okay, is this
I did feel
interrupted?
Feel like, oh my God, I made a mistake. You push yourself down a lot. That, oh shit, I made a mistake. But over years, you realize that everyone does. Like everyone from the person who's been the senior most in the organization. But gradually you understand, okay, how do I make the most of it, of this mistake? How to just make sure that I undo it quickly at the earliest.
People come, your seniors come back and give you a feedback and share their stories of their first goof ups and how they've lived off. And probably now you're there for 2-3 years. The next person who comes in, you'll go and tell them, don't worry about it. We also have been there. We have done that. So it's fine, right? That's how kind of you learn from your seniors and you pass on that learnings to the next cycle of people. So
Absolutely.
tell me, apart from me, I've been your mentor and guide all through your CA journey. I'm going to take that
always. I was going to write a long speech for you, but you just made my work easy. You have taken your own name, so I don't need to do it.
Yeah, I'm just taking a little stage time over here that I'm sharing screen with the Sonal Bhutra. But the fact is that I know I've known you since the time you're pursuing your chartered accountancy. And so I know I've been a small part of that journey at that time. But right now, who is your mentor? Who is your second favorite mentor? But before I come to that question, I have Dimple. I have one poll to be launched. That will be poll number 2. So in Toastmasters, we have contests and we have mentors, mentees. We help each other get better public speakers and communicators and stuff like that. So we're going to check with people in terms of. Dimple, just confirm me once it's done. Yeah, I can see. So the questions over here, in a contest, both mentor and mentee take part. The mentee wins and you come second, the mentor. You're the mentor. How do you react? You become Guru Dronacharya and ask for the thumb. Or you say, Bol raha hai, par shabd mere hai. And the third one is karma. You remember your school days when you copied from the person in front of you and scored more than him.
god,
I'll
all
give
the
you a few.
three.
I'll give you a few seconds to respond to that while Sonal recollects her thoughts and talks about her second favorite mentor right now in her life.
Should I
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
Sonal,
it?
please go ahead. Yeah.
No, so I've just realized that as you grow in life, your mentors, you learn something from everyone, but there are just few who influence you in a big way. So professionally, I've been influenced a lot by my boss, Shireen Khan and Lata Venkatesh. They are like super bosses for me. They will give you all the mentoring that you need. They will tell you where you can do better, what journalism is all about, what content is all about, how do you have to present yourself, how to tell a story. So journalism is also all about telling a story. It can be story of a stock, it can be story of a person. Two, three more people that I would really mention is, of course, my parents. They've always been there in every way. And third, actually, is my husband. I've known him for a little less than 2, 3 years, but he's mentored me in a lot of ways. So yeah, these are the people I would who really mentor me on a daily basis, professionally and personally.
So you finally have a woman who says there's a man behind her success as well. Can I quote that publicly on the screen right now, and this will go on social media? Are you okay with that?
Please, like, why not? Why not?
All right. So when mentoring happens, do you mentor some people as well? Do you help some people? And
So,
some incident of journalism which you has been shared with you, something which you remember, which your mentor has told you.
which my mentor has told me and I have been able to share with someone else.
Yeah. Which you want to share with all of us, basically.
So I remember this had happened that I'm talking about my mentors in terms of Shireen Khan and Lata Venkatesh. They once told me that they had to interview a very senior politician not politician per se, a very senior member from the cabinet. And for some reason, there was some miscommunication on part of the public relations company who set it up for you, or the corporate communications. And basically, there was a lot of confusion that this person will be interviewing or that person will be interviewing. And these people, the person was on air actually, and there was a very junior person sitting in the studio, and he was connected to that senior cabinet. But you sometimes don't understand what to do, right? And then very quickly, uh, they basically used their journalism experience. They connected themselves on the phone, and they tried to protect the junior guy because he was 2 years old in the system. You can't actually interview a very senior cabinet member because you do not have that experience. So this is when they told me that you have to think on your feet, that you just try and understand that at the moment you have to do what you have to do and just protect your team. Is the first thing that Shireen Khan has always told me, that as a leader, it's your duty to protect your team no matter what. Of course, people go and tell you, okay, that was the cabinet minister and you connected to junior anchor, we were wishing to see you. And she just took it on herself. So I think this is the thing that I've learned a lot from both of them, that being a leader, it's your duty to take care of your whatever, like the colleagues you work with, the junior colleagues.
We always hear about, praise in public but criticize in private. And when the team wins, it's the team who wins, and when the team loses, it's the captain who owns up to it. And this is what a live example of that exactly is. That has actually happened. So we see it in practice also, and that's really an interesting journey to share over here. Now you spend probably a few minutes in front of the camera, after all your research and reporting that happens. Probably 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes of recording that happens throughout the day. What does the rest of the day look like? How much time do you spend researching before you go on screen? Because you can't have a fact. These days we have WhatsApp University and Twitter University giving out facts more often than we are supposed to hear them. But in your numbers field, because it impacts, right? Probably a news that you break and it can plus or minus stock market. For example, 2 days back, there was a news that India has started the next line of surgical strikes, and in 10 minutes, there was a clarification. But how does it impact? How do you do your research beforehand and before you go on stage and speak about it?
Right. So it happens through the day. First thing, you have to read a lot. I think this job pays us for reading more. Basically, that's the point. The more you read, the more you analyze, is how you grow in this organization or this profession for that matter. Because what happens is, in hindsight, you realize that okay, I read about it. How can I use it here? It's all about education. Is about connecting things. And see, some stock has fallen, and if I did not know the background, I never read about it, I will never be able to analyze what is the reason, what has happened in the past that is impacting that particular stock right now, for that matter. So, reading is the most important thing, and we do that through the day. And this is something that our job is to read, to understand, to speak to more people, understand what is happening on the ground. So, it is never sitting on your desktop, just trying to understand Wikipedia pe ye hai, on this particular site, this is written. You need to speak to people constantly. So that is what our research is. Before anything goes on air, when you're new, it is of course vetted by your seniors because they've been in the industry for the longest years. They vet your work. They tell you, okay, this is how you, and also being on air is about being concise and precise. You can't go on talking about one thing for 5 minutes because it's storytelling after all, and you don't want your audience to get bored, right? So if I can say something in 1 minute, why take it on for like 5 minutes? So you have to do that research, and that research through the day. We have our shows, we go for our shows, but if something breaks on our particular sector, we all have our sectors or our fields that we focus on. Uh, we analyze it as analysts, that's what our work is, but it goes on through the night because there are a lot of things which happen post markets. We read up in the night, and that is how we present it in the morning. So it's all preparation through the day. It's a never ending process.
So what do you read? Is information limited to what the financial statements or news portals report? Do you keep a track of what other channels are reporting, or do you even talk to insider and you have those insider information as well, which are declared that through my sources, through my confirmed sources, unconfirmed sources, we are declaring this? How does it happen?
No, so basically what happens is this job requires talking a lot because unless you know what is happening in a company, not the insider way, but you need to understand the business. So unless you know the business, you will not understand what you're going to analyze. You can't just analyze something you do not understand. So you do have to keep talking to people, and how much ever people say that, okay, we are talking about unconfirmed sources, a news channel is nothing without the sources as well. Like you need to have those people to try and make you understand what is the industry dynamics. Having said that, yes, financial statements are one because business journalism is a different segment of journalism. So it is more serious in terms of that it involves financial wealth of people. So you talk to the companies, you talk to fund managers to understand what the markets are doing. You go down, you watch their factories, you understand their business, the ground reporting happens. So that is how research happens. And it is not a desktop job at all. It involves meeting people. It is a people-centric job as well because you need to understand their part of the story and then present that story on air.
So one tip for people over here, not a stock tip in particular, but an investment tip, and it cannot be the statement from Scanito that India ka bhau badne wala India mein invest karo. There has to be some other tip that you want to give to all of us.
Invest in Hardik Shah.
Wow.
That's the
I have a
investment
startup, by
tip.
the way. Just since you mentioned, I have a startup, so we will raise equity at the end of this section, and we'll have a poll where you want to invest on me. But yes, coming to the fact that the names you spoke, most of them, are women leaders in journalism.
Yeah.
And we normally see, apart from a few firebrand journalists, without naming them in particular, most of the journalists are women. Is there a particular reason for that?
I would not say that it's only journalism. Of course, I would not shy away from saying that in journalism they have made more strides. But gradually, I'm seeing, even if you see in the banking industry, Hardik, previously we had Shikha Sharma, we had Arundhati Bhattacharya. They headed the biggest banks in India. In journalism, of course, you're talking from the times of DD to Barkha Dutt to Faye D'Souza. Now I'm talking about my mentors as well. They have started making those strides. Nisaba Godrej is now Godrej Consumer CEO. So I would agree with you that yes, it's more so in media or journalism, but I think gradually overall India Inc. is, and the biggest example, of course, it's not India, but Indra Nui. Like, so there are, but of course, this is gradually changing. I wouldn't say that it has changed completely. But it is a great point that you made that, yes, it is more so in journalism right now, and they have made bigger strides in journalism. Also, maybe I think that is because uh, this is a profession where you just grow basis what your talent is. You just grow. You do well, you'll grow. So I would say that this is the reason why all these women have done well. There's no reason. They've done well, and that is why they are where they are.
One quick rapid fire video. Breaking news or research news?
Research news?
That was a long 5-second halt. But since you're talking about breaking news and research news over here, I have one more poll for all of us in the audience over here. Zoom Master, Dimple, can you play the third poll, please, for us? All right, the poll in front of all of us. Where do we find the best breaking news 24/7? The nation wants to know. WhatsApp University, Twitter, or Pados Wale, Sharma Uncle and Verma Aunty. I'm going to let you all comment on that. And what's your take right now, Sonal, on the 24/7 news channels? Do we have so much happening throughout the day, and almost every news comes with those flashy red, blue lights saying breaking news? Why is every news suddenly so overhyped?
So, well, actually, I wouldn't go so far to say the mean things that people say online or the trolls say online about general news. But yes, you are right. It does need massive overhaul. But you know what? It's not only an Indian phenomenon right now. It's happening world over. But having said that, there are a lot of people who are doing genuine general news, putting out good content. But you know what people are doing? They're serving their exact purpose, and that is attention grabbing, and that is what their business is all about. I think that is why this is happening, because maybe you and I don't, but a mass population is attending to that, and that's what their ultimate goal is. So maybe that is why this is happening. But having said that, it is a global phenomenon, and a few of them out there are doing a really good job.
So is it a problem when you say mass? Is it the millennials today who are the news receivers eventually? Most of us, like India is known as a young population because most of us are below that 40-30 age group. So are you trying to say that our generation, who has normally been quoted as not being very disciplined, not being focused, not having any plans and goals in life, and it's easier to manipulate to us with all these news coming across?
I do not agree with that fact that millennials are not focused. I think millennials are more focused on their careers than anybody ever was. Like people, I am not that old, but people even younger than me have plans about what they want to do 5 years next. So I think it's by masses. I do not exactly mean millennials. Because millennials, I think, have stopped watching television. They're more on Twitter, there's Instagram. They consume their content digitally. So they really don't go out there. They have other mediums to just get their news. They want in short, 60 words and it's done. That's what you and I want. But having said that, there is still a mass in tier 2, tier 3 cities, or people who like to see that. Whatever is being shown, they like to see that. And that's why it's being catered to them.
So on a quick lighter note, before we open up the floor to the audience members to ask a few questions to you, but condition is here to have your videos on before you put your question in the text. That is going to condition because we want to see who are attentive over here. So the question for you is on a lighter note, in 2015, what was your plan 5 years down the line?
Oh my God, I can't even tell you. 2015, I was giving my CA finals, and you know, then the person counts in 6 months. They don't think 5 years. Like, abhi nahi hua, to next 6 months I have to study again. But nevertheless, I would just say that yes, I wanted to be into financial journalism, and thankfully, by God's grace, I've gotten into this. So my 5-year plan now worked for it. For next 5 years, let's see what happens.
I mean, 2020, you had planned for COVID, by the way. That was supposed to be the joke, but you didn't get it.
No,
So
I don't think nobody. Nobody accounted for COVID. Nobody accounted for COVID. I am sure.
Members of the audience, it's your turn to ask Sonal questions. As long as it's not controversial question or stock tips on how Reliance is going to work tomorrow, or which team is going to win the next IPL, or who will invest in CNBC TV 18, you can start asking your
Are you
questions in
doing
the
that,
chat section.
Hardik? Are you going to do
In,
that, Hardik?
I'm going to invest in Reliance.
No, I'm not asking about relax. Okay, let's scrap that now.
All right. So we have a question. No, Dimple, let's have the chat open. We'll not unmute them right now. The question is, aside from did being a CA help you become your life easier to join the business journalism? That's a question from
Absolutely.
Venkat that we've got. Yeah.
It did, Venkat, in every possible way. And we don't realize how much being a CA helps, even the degree does. But reading financial statements, understanding accounts, everything was so much easier. And just because I was CA, I was given an edge in my recruitment as well, because people knew CA hai to pata hoga. It did help.
All right. How do you filter out, because there are way too much information? How do you process different pieces of information sources? I mean, I think in news channels you have 10 TVs put up with all news channels of your competitors putting up out there. On Twitter, every half an hour there's something new trending actually. The trend changes more faster than anything else. I mean, when we had the US elections, for example, Trump is leading, suddenly you have Biden leading, and then Trump is not agreeing to the results, and that's changing every day. Suddenly we go to Bihar right now. So how do you gauge what to retain, what to look at, and what just to ignore?
So it's the 80-20 principle that we apply, right? Pareto analysis, that it's the 20% of the news that is most important. That's the 80% importance that it carries. When you're new, you think that, okay, everything that is there is important. But gradually, when you gain experience in this field, you realize, okay, not everything is important. You need to just put out what makes a difference. But maybe, again, what makes a difference to Hardik doesn't make a difference to Sonal. So Hardik would want to see, okay, yehi batao. But what happens is that you have to cater to what is of public importance in that time, and that's why we have editors and people like our seniors. They take these calls that filter out this information, and this is something you learn over time. I would say even I wouldn't have entered into that field with this experience. This is something you learn over time, and in 4 years I would say, yes, now I've understood that, okay, we need to talk about this more. This is of more national importance. If there is a fallout of Lakshmi Vilas Bank or Yes Bank, every depositor, every shareholder would want to know that. Then maybe you wouldn't want to talk about a Pidilite at that point in time, because banking is more important right now. So you need to prioritize on a daily basis. It's so dynamic that importance changes every day.
So with news information, like we spoke about, there's this question from Santosh that's come to us, is that, some are mentors who we look up to and we look for their feedback and we crave for it and we want to become like that on one side of it. On the second side, we have a lot of people giving unsolicited feedback. Like, you spoke very fast, you spoke very slow. This was not relevant. It could be on Twitter, it could be on your personal life in your office. How do you manage those people? I mean, when we give speeches also at clubs, we'll have 10 people come and give 10 different advices in terms of your stage movement, your body movement, your eye contact. How do you know not everyone is good at everything, right? My focus, my priority, or my forte might be storytelling. I may not be a good emotional speaker. I don't change my voice modulations. How do you manage and filter out advice you don't want to get from people? And they'll keep giving you, right? They didn't stop automatically.
Yes. There's every person who will give you an advice on Twitter, and I'll be honest, at the start you would be like, okay, this viewer didn't like this, should I change it? But then you realize that one person cannot do everything. It is just not possible. And that is what you were saying, right? That if one person is saying your modulation is not correct, the second person will say, okay, this is not correct. Then you just see constructive criticism, be it good or bad. If one viewer is liking something in me, I would like to continue that or maybe improve upon that. And if somebody is saying, okay, you could have done this better, and you also feel it, okay, yeah, I could have done this better, this is my skill set, I would want to do it. But then in things like these, if you keep listening to everyone, it will start affecting how you speak. It will affect who you are. There are so many people here. So some of them are seniors. They come with a lot of experience. So they speak their way. I am a millennial in my team. So I want to bring that kind of energy in the way we speak. So everyone has a difference of opinion. But as long as you are doing it correct, it's okay. And you have to take your criticism with people who are more experienced in the industry. Because every second person gives you a feedback on Twitter, but if you keep doing that, you will forget who you are and you'll try to be a person you're not. The first thing is be yourself and improve upon that. And you have a lot of people in the organization as well, right, to look up to understand things from. So that is how it works. Again, you have to say it's all Maya, not give so much attention unless there is a complaint that keeps coming. Okay, this is not right, this is not right. So you need to sometimes think about it, not all the time.
So just to add to that, the fact that even some of our Bollywood actors cannot act and have voice modulation and all that stuff, we are still human. We are still just communicators. Right? Our work is to communicate, right? But in terms of communication, do you always have to be very prepared, very polished in terms of the words you use, the words you don't use, the lingos that we use in our generation is very different from the ones that are used by the previous, the baby boomers, or we have a lot of filler words at times. We're thinking across. Probably you are thinking before you speak, so the words come automatically. But some people speak and then think and then speak, so that's a pause over there. So do you think you have to be very fluent always when you're on screen?
I think that's a prerequisite, because what happens is that people want to, if you open a channel and somebody is constantly speaking something that you're either not able to understand or it's not polished, you will lose interest. And it's again an industry where you have to keep your audience hooked. Generally also, if you want to be a speaker, I'm not saying you have to have great vocabulary, but you need to understand what you're saying, and that anybody understands. That if I'm saying something and I'm not understanding it, it'll be very evident on my face. It'll be like, ye bol rahi hai, but mujhe nahi lagta she's saying it convincingly. I don't think she knows what she's saying. So preparation is extremely important. Yes, if you've been doing it for years, you will just go on air and talk about it because it has come from practice. You can't just do it on day one. I would say, because I've seen it, like unless you're very, very prepared, I've seen it in my seniors as well. They're so prepared all the time that they'll go on air and they'll talk. So I think practice is important. Yes, it has to be there. Fluency, yes.
Talk about the fact that sometimes you don't agree with what the other person is saying. You're not convinced yourself probably with the statement being made, and you have some panelists on stage, or you have some speaker. You know the real facts because you've done your study, you've done your research, you've spoken to people, and someone doesn't agree with the fact that no. For example, a few years back, you when I asked Satyam that the company is doing really well, but you know the financials at the back end. So something like that happens. How do you manage? Do you contradict them on screen, or you just let them put their view, you put your view, and you end the conversation for people to make the final judgment? How do you handle that?
So we are journalists. We are not here to make opinions. We can't be biased. That is the first thing that we have to do. Having said that, we have a duty towards the viewers who are watching us. So when we know, do not contradict your guests with louder noise. Contradict them with facts. So if somebody's maybe trying to say something which is not right, and you have those facts, you have to keep asking them. And again, very politely. It's not by saying, you listen to me. You'll be like, so yes, whatever you're saying, I'm taking that into consideration. But your financial statements are saying something else. Would you like to throw some light on it? And more often than not, people do not have an answer. And if you are saying it with some backup, I am sure that they will have to get around that.
So will they refuse to come to the show next time?
I don't know. Like if they are brave enough to face it again, they will come back.
All right. I think with that, I think it's been a pretty long conversation over here. Thank you, Sonal, for taking your time taking us through the women leaders, women journalism, talking about different aspects of how being a CA to becoming a Motilal Oswal, and how your journey started in journalism, becoming a leader out there. Any final closing comments for people who want to speak in front of camera but are a little bored, annoyed, sitting at home the entire day and talking in front of camera, one. And two, any word of advice which we can quote with your photograph and that can become a landmark name in the years to come. So one quote from your side.
I don't think there's any landmark quote that I would give. I would just say that this is something that I've learned. Just ask and you shall get. Like this is something I've seen. Like in last 5 years, You ask for it, you'll get it. What is the worst that will happen? People will say no, but there is 60% chance that people will say yes. So ask for that 60% chance. It will always happen, and that is what I've experienced. And for people who want to speak in front of camera, I think everyone has it. That stage fear. Even I had it when I was a kid. But then I would look at the audience and I was like, friends ही तो है, ठीक है, गलती करूँगी तो माफ कर दे. So that's how I started. I started with people who I would say knew me. But then of course, if you want to speak in the front of camera, you need to think that the camera is your audience. As you know, it's even better because camera doesn't give you a reaction. Even if they're liking it, they'll not say anything. If they're not liking it, they'll not be like like maza nahi aa raha. So that's the best thing. You do not know what the camera thinks, so you will at least bring in that confidence to speak. And of course, you can always improve upon that because there are people in the industry who ask you to do that. So don't worry, is my point, that every person out there has some fear, so they will understand it.
Yeah, just to tell you all, I hadn't spoken to Sonal for quite some time, and I took that challenge to ask her, and she didn't refuse to come part of this panel over here as part of this Medley session. So that's my success rate of more than 60% happening over here. And the fact that you talk about ask people, I recently read the book The Third Door. It basically talks about that we all have 3 doors to enter into a club. The main entrance is a very long queue. The second is a VIP entrance, but there's always a third option to walk in through the back kitchen door or washroom door or something like that. It's always open. You have to go and knock on that, open that, break that, but you have to ask people. Worst case, they don't know you. I mean, you drop a mail. I dropped mail to random people, and some of them responded, and I got a yes. Some did respond. They don't know me. It doesn't matter. And the second part I take out from you, Sonal, is the fact that friends ही तो है. So that's how Toastmasters actually functions. That we all know each other. We learn from each other. It's a peer-to-peer learning based, and eventually we become friends, become family. And it's okay to make mistakes over here. It's okay to be a little unprepared at times, but eventually you keep growing over there. So with that, thank you so much, Sonal, for your time on this beautiful Saturday morning, for being our first Medley speaker and one of the youngest speakers at our 2-day conference. I'm hoping that we will get a small news bite at CNBC or some of the news channels that will be our promotion activity for Kaleidoscope. I'm asking it out on screen so that you have to say yes. That's my 60% hit ratio. Well, that is a wrap to the first Medley session over here. Handing over the virtual screen stage back to our Master of Ceremonies, Tuba Mansoor.